Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to take a look at a 2020 American horror film called The Old Ways. Spoilers ahead! At the beginning of the film, we're taken to Veracruz, Mexico, where a bruja, which is the name given to practitioners of witchcraft, is performing an exorcism on a woman. A little girl holding a doll in her hands is seen standing by the side. A woman calls the girl close. When she nears her, the woman caresses her arms and tells her that everything will be okay. In the blink of an eye, she turns into a demon with pointy teeth and snarls menacingly. The girl screams and steps back, now bearing wounds on her arm where her mother had held her. We're then taken many years ahead in time. A man unlocks a room and goes inside where a woman is revealed to be bound with a sack on her head. The man, whom we later come to know as Javi, removes the sack from her face and moves her hair to reveal her face. The girl tells him she's Cristina, a reporter who came to learn about the Veracruz culture. Javi, seemingly unable to understand her, asks in Spanish what she was doing in La Boca. Cristina tells him that she was there for her story. She offers him money to set her free, but that's not what he's after. Later, a bruja with a painted face and a white eye enters the room. She observes Cristina, then turns to Javi and says she has it. Javi approaches a panicked Cristina and pours goat milk down her throat. At night, Cristina attempts to break her chain using a rock. We're shown a flashback of hers where she's going to the ruins of La Boca. She sees an inhuman creature looming in the dark. A moment later, something tackles her, making her let out a heart-wrenching scream. Cristina awakens in the room, disturbed as the scream echoes in her mind. She stops her ears and the screams eventually fade. The next morning, Miranda, Cristina's cousin and a resident of Veracruz, comes to see Cristina. Cristina begs to help her escape, but as a response, Miranda only asks her why she went to La Boca. Cristina remarks she doesn't understand how that's relevant. Miranda explains that Javi is the son of the bruja who practices the old ways. A demon has found its way inside Cristina from La Boca. Cristina asks her to bring her bag so she can show Javi what she was doing. When Javi gives Cristina her bag, she shows them the photos of the ruins in her camera. This only confirms that she was indeed in the ruins. As Javi and Miranda step out for a moment, Cristina pulls a pouch from her bag and hides it. Her phone starts ringing. She answers to find her employer, Carson, on the line. As Javi walks into the room, Cristina quickly reveals her location and tells him she's being held hostage. Javi takes her phone and the bag and leaves. Later, Cristina finds a boy outside the door. She tries to talk to him, but he runs away. Cristina opens her pouch to reveal drugs inside. Another flashback shows her in Carson's office. She requests Carson to give her the Veracruz assignment. Carson seems reluctant as he believes her childhood town has given her many disturbing memories. The argument ends with Cristina taking the assignment anyways. Presently, Cristina injects the drug into herself and falls into a trance. She awakens bound and marked with blood. Bruja, Miranda, and Javi stand in the room. Bruja smears blood on her belly and tells her she'll see a demon soon. Everyone leaves her alone in the room after this. As she lays there restrained, two snakes sneak into the room. She cries for help as the snakes slither over her body to her face. Javi suddenly appears and catches them in a sack. Later, Miranda comes to visit Cristina again. Cristina asks her to convince the others that she saw the demon so they can let her go. Miranda refuses, saying when she does see it, they will know. That night, after Cristina drugs herself, her sheets are suddenly jerked off her. She sees the blood-stained sheets on the floor and lifts them to find a dead hen underneath. The next morning, as Javi discards the hen, Miranda asks Cristina what happened. Cristina tells her that she is confused. Bruja tells her that the demon is almost here. Miranda later brings Cristina a pile of books to read for an insight on the demons. Cristina skims the books and scoffs. Miranda tells Cristina that she couldn't have forgotten what happened to her mother all those years ago. Cristina still negates the presence of a demon and asks to make a phone call. Miranda gets up to leave, but Cristina holds her back by her arm with a firm grip. Miranda pulls her hand off to see red marks on her skin. Miranda tells Cristina that this is not her talking and leaves. While Cristina is studying a book in the candlelight that night, a candle suddenly extinguishes. She holds another candle to read, but that too extinguishes. Cristina turns off the fan and starts reading about a demon called the Potski in the light of the third one. To her astonishment, the third candle goes out as well. The candles in the whole room extinguish one by one until the room plunges into darkness. The next morning, Cristina sees the boy hiding behind plants outside. Upon seeing her, he runs away. Miranda later brings Cristina her childhood doll. She explains that their grandmother had made one for each of them to keep them safe. She tells Cristina that La Boca is a cursed place from which people don't return. She says she's glad that Cristina was found. Cristina starts seething in anger and asks Miranda who found her. Miranda gets frightened after looking at Cristina's hands. Cristina notices that she's clenching the doll in her hands very hard, almost about to tear it apart. She releases the doll and drops it. Later, the Bruja starts another healing practice on Christina. Miranda tells her they'll be performing a psychic surgery. The Bruja intones an incantation and starts pressing into Christina's stomach. She tears through the skin, making her cry out in pain, and pulls out a sac-like structure from her abdomen. Miranda watches in horror as she cuts it open to reveal the demon's teeth inside. Bruja then goes deeper in her skin. Tearing further into her flesh, she grabs the tail of a snake from her stomach. Christina bawls as Javi and Bruja pull the snake out. Unable to take the agony, Christina begs Miranda for help, but Miranda steps back in fear and shock. As Christina observes the bruise in her abdomen later, Miranda comes to her. Christina, who was already upset with her, pieces together that Miranda was the one who found her and brought her to be tortured this way. She lashes out at Miranda furiously. Miranda gets terrified and quickly leaves. Christina screams in rage after she's left. A glimpse is shown of little Christina being taken away from her mother as the doll falls from her hands. Christina spots a mouse in the room. As it walks past a dark corner, a demonic foot emerges from the dark and stomps on it. The dead mouse appears in Christina's hands, making her scream in fear. When Javi comes to her room upon hearing this, Christina points at the corner. As Javi goes towards the corner, Christina stabs him in the neck with her syringe and drugs him. She then takes the keys from him, unchains herself, and goes outside. While trying to walk out the door, she runs into some kind of invisible wall. She notices that there is some invisible barrier that is keeping her from leaving this place, most probably because of the demonic presence associated with her. She crouches down and sees the entrance lined with powder. When she tries to touch it, she's not able to. Suddenly, she starts gagging. She puts her fingers in her mouth and pulls a strand of hair from her throat while coughing and gagging. The hair doesn't stop coming. It only thickens and thickens until it's a huge, disgusting pile on the ground. She stares at it in horror and retreats to a corner. Bruja appears and observes the hair. She then casually asks Christina if she wants goat's milk. At the table, Christina remarks that the demon must still be inside her. Bruja nods, confirming this. Christina asks her to help her. Bruja places her hand on Christina's head caringly and walks to the door. Javi comes in as she's walking outside. Bruja tells him that forgiveness brings peace and walks out. Christina offers to bandage Javi when he gets up. It's revealed that Javi can understand English. Christina asks why he didn't tell her, but then pieces together herself that the people he brought here to heal must probably attack and lash out at him often, which is why he keeps the distance. Javi confirms this and pulls out mahjong tiles. The two start conversing as they play. When Christina asks about Javi's father, he tells her that something went wrong with an exorcism once. Something took over his father which eventually caused his death. Christina asks him if he'll follow the path of his mother as a bruja when she dies. Javi declares that the old ways will die with her. The next day, Christina starts studying the books again. Bruja performs a ritual where she burns the demonic things while intoning incantations. Christina learns that the demon she saw in the ruins, Potski, is the death god of broken things. He feeds on the pain of broken men. Among the healing techniques which Bruja has tried on her, she sees one that wasn't performed. She asks Bruja about it. Javi starts shaking his head in strong opposition to the technique. Christina tells him that she read that it draws the demon out. Javi explains that the ritual is very painful. She tells him she wants it anyways. Christina asks Miranda to make a video of hers. In the video, she explains that for a long time her past haunted her. She took this assignment so that she could come and die in the darkness of the ruins. But, she adds, looking at Miranda, there are people who try to help ones going through the pain. Miranda smiles. Christina happily starts giving a tour around the room. At the beginning of the next ritual, Christina asks the Bruja's name. She tells her it's Luz. Christina then thanks Luz for her help. Luz marks points on Christina's hands with blood and rubs a powder into her neck that leaves a burning sensation. Javi lays the heavily breathing Christina down. Luz starts hammering a nail into a triangle, which has the same effect on Christina, and her hand is nailed to the ground. Christina lets out a blood-curdling scream. Luz continues hammering all the nails until all Christina's limbs are nailed down. Christina's back arches, her body floats, the nails being the only thing that's keeping her down. Christina is shown a vision. She finds herself back in the ruins. She sees the boy behind a rock. When she nears him, he's no longer there. She then turns around to see Potski standing behind her. He claws at her face, which she springs up in real life with a gash on her face across her eye. She tells the others she saw it. She further tells them about the boy she saw, saying he lives around the place. The others get confused. Realization dawns on Christina and she freezes. She looks to a corner where he stands with pointy demonic teeth. He screeches and suddenly disappears. The ground starts shaking and bloody bags start falling from the ceiling. Smoke surrounds Christina and she starts screaming in fear and agony. Luz starts thumping her stick on the ground, continuing the incantation, but the ritual seems to be having a harsh effect on her. She looks back at Javi, giving him a sorrowful look, and continues. The demon's heart appears in front of Luz. She clenches it in a tight grip and furiously says a spell. An explosion occurs and everything goes quiet. The next morning, Christina, now wearing a cloth to cover her wounded eye, notices that she can now go through the door. As they stand around Luz's body, Javi declares that the old ways will die with her. Miranda tells Christina to stay, saying she belongs here. Christina gets a call from Carson and immediately rushes to get it, completely ignoring Miranda. Miranda opens the bandage on her arm to see that her wounds have worsened. Christina strictly forbids Carson from coming to look for her and returns to Miranda. Miranda now seems to be seething in rage and tells Christina to leave. Christina faces Miranda and notices that she had ripped the doll to shreds. Christina looks in her eyes and sees something dark moving inside. She realizes that the demon wasn't destroyed. Miranda panics after learning that the demon now resides in her. Christina starts crying as Luz, the last woman who knew the old ways, has died. Miranda begs her for help, saying that she read the books, she's been through it, she can help her. Christina initially refuses, but after seeing movement outside, goes there to see Luz's spirit. It leads her to Luz's ritualistic things. Christina realizes that it is indeed her destiny and decides to help. Christina paints her face like Luz and begins the ritual. She streaks the burning powder across Miranda's neck, but the demon takes over Miranda and she attacks Christina. Christina kicks her off and quickly hammers a nail into the triangle, nailing her hand to the ground. She starts intoning an incantation and nails her second hand to the ground. Miranda starts floating and begs Christina to stop, saying she's hurting her. Christina realizes by making Miranda suffer, she's only making the demon stronger as he feeds on pain. She thus stops the ritual and the nails come off the triangle. The demon, who has completely taken over Miranda, smiles and declares Miranda cannot be saved, only sacrificed. Christina touches Miranda's cheek and tells her that the demon can't live inside her. Miranda snarls and coughs out some smoke. The demon has thus left Miranda's body and Christina hugs her. All the candles in the room suddenly extinguish. Christina declares that Potski is here. Christina pulls off the cloth covering her now white eye. The demon roars at them from the dark and pulls Miranda away. Christina follows them out and blows Luz's whistle. As the demon leaves upon hearing the sound, Christina helps Miranda up and rushes to leave. However, she decides against it, saying the demon will find them. She then goes towards the corner, offering herself to Potski. When the demon makes himself visible, she tells him she's a bruja and rips out its heart. The demon roars as its heart falls in front of Miranda. Miranda stabs the heart, which makes Potski burn and disappear. The next day, Christina lays her doll at Luz's grave. The cousins start spending a happy life at Veracruz. Some trucks honk nearby, catching their attention. Miranda goes into the room where the residents have brought another foreigner into the ruins of La Boca. She pulls the sack from his head to reveal the face of Carson, who starts offering them money and whatnot. Christina enters the room with a painted face. Carson stares at her in disbelief. Christina sees something moving in his eye. Miranda appears behind them with milk. Christina tells Carson they're going to give him some milk. Carson stares at her in confusion as a demon roars from the corner behind them. Drop a comment below letting me know how you found the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching, guys!